Let's get into it. We are back in the saddle. Power Slap number 9 recap show from Abu Dhabi. I was there. Ding, you were holding it down, making sure everything gets posted. We did a ton of content the entire week. We were there with the fighters in the hotel. We were eating breakfast with them all the way up to the weigh-ins and fight night. They're live. And then, of course, at the post-fight press conference, dealing with everything that international travel has to deal with. And I think, honestly, our team from top to bottom did incredibly well, incredibly proud of everything that we brought. And what an interesting fight card. We had 3 fights fall out before we even got really going on this one. We get on the plane, and all of a sudden we find out that Austin Turpin and Russell Rivera no longer happening. Fights get bumped up. Typically, they have 3 or 4 fights that are going to be taped in case of situations like this. And it came in handy this time around. Dang, overall, talk to me about how the event looked from the outside, from the broadcast and Rumble. I haven't had time to watch it back, but what did you see from being here in America?
Yeah, you know what? I think for their first event internationally, they blew it out of the park for a lot of reasons. Of course, the vibe and the atmosphere is always great, but it's tough to translate something like that, right? An atmospheric, emotional feeling and sort of a crowd, if you will. The way that the Power Slap events are, right? People always talk about the live event being so much different compared to any other sports, compared to any other live events. But to translate that onto a broadcast so that viewers who are sitting at home can feel it is really something special. And I think that they are really getting to a point where they're nailing this down to a science, to where they could package it up, almost put a bow on it and give it to someone else and say, here's the recipe. This is how you put on a live event. So I thought it was great. You know, of course, there was some things that happened during the card that we didn't expect. Obviously, we don't typically see draws. It's not something that's extremely common. You don't want to see it in your main event and your runner up to the co-main event, of course, especially with the big stars and the big names. But I think overall the broadcast was incredible. Michael Bisping, Dan Hellie in true form as usual. And again, it was just such a big week. It felt like there was really a lot of buzz despite the event not actually being in America. That time difference didn't really feel like any of that played a factor in the way that this all unfolded. So it was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, for the fighters themselves, I mean, a lot of these fighters got passports to be able to travel for Power Slap. You know, these strikers have never traveled internationally. Incredibly long flights. I mean, direct flight, 14, 15 hours from America, into Abu Dhabi. Some fighters flew in, to Dubai and then had to take an hour transit to Yas Island in Abu Dhabi, where the fighter hotel was. And, so all this unknown, the language, these athletes being out of their comfort zone. We've seen it. We've seen fights fall apart because of it. We've seen, visa issues, fighters that were, originally offered fights in this card weren't able to do so. And even strikers that made it there, having to deal with the uncertainty of being in a different country, not being able to use, your cell phone the way that you typically would, not having access to your online banking or your credit cards not working, seeing people get flustered back behind the scenes, just all different changes that when people don't realize how it could impact someone's performance in the long term. And being away from home, the crazy Hawaiian went into, neutral territory, didn't have his family with him for the first time. He was flying solo. Not even his brother was there. And so he was truly going at this one by himself. The spotlight was on him, as you've seen, continually throughout the week. He was treated like a king, paraded around, went to SeaWorld, did Ferrari World, went to the Grand Mosque. Like everything was kind of taking place. And so a lot of these fighters were in, uncharted territory, never traveling the distance and having to, deal and navigate with everything that kind of coincided with that. So, even just like a funny story, I'm not sure like if you guys realized or not, but, even Robin, in the pre-fight weigh, if you go and look on her IG and you look at the photos, you'll notice she has like a square thing on her chest and, kind of funny backstory to that even. Like she couldn't access her bank, so she didn't have money to pay for food. Erica throws out a wad of cash as she's getting ready to go up on stage. Robin tucks it in her bra and goes on stage, and you can literally see the money in her actual photos if you go back and look at it. And like these are all just little things that kind of play into it, but it's funny to see, just the differences of when people travel. And what I thought was incredibly interesting and unique from sitting there in the crowd is the audience itself. I'll say this, it wasn't America. being Fontainebleau, being at the Apex is truly something special. This is the first time that internationally they have seen Power Slap. And I'll tell you, there was a lot of UFC fans in attendance from a number of different countries. I spoke to, fans from Romania, from Denmark, from Germany that came to Power Slap because they were in town for the UFC as well. So there was a ton of new first-time people in attendance taking in Power Slap. And I mean, the first event, the first match, Dana goes live. We didn't even know that we were going to get it. But Awa versus Wes Mena finishes in a KO. And then the live event rolls around. And then we get Darren Godfrey and the Chief. And I mean, look at what happened. The knockout to start the night. Incredible form. Went viral. We get into it. Was it a step? Was it not? We've seen the Chief go live and talk about it afterwards. He got robbed in that particular instance. It's up to you guys. What do you guys think in the comments below? Let us know. Was Darren Godfrey's strike legal or illegal? Let us know. It's definitely interesting to see. The refs didn't call it. Darren Godfrey got the victory, got the extra money for doing so. Ding, sitting back, seeing the broadcast. What did they say about that initial fight?
Yeah, I mean, what I can remember is that obviously, Godfrey had great body language and sort of a great response to that first strike from the Chief. The question about whether or not the Chief could take a hit, it being his first time, they did pick up on that. And, of course, they freaked out as soon as the strike landed and we saw the Chief, drop, essentially kind of motionless, if you will, right? You always have those KOs, right? Like if you look at the John Davis one, he kind of falls backwards, right? Almost in like a trust fall kind of way. And then the really, really vicious ones are like where somebody's skeleton essentially just drops in its place. Body parts do all kinds of twists and turns they're not really supposed to do per se, right? Their knees buckle. So definitely something that was tough to see. I'd be interested to see what Darren thought about it, as far as just looking at a guy that he just was able to do that to, especially a guy that, from all things that both guys said, they respect each other. But I think overall the broadcast was fair. I think even in some cases when there was no call, the broadcast still would say, "Oh, I think that was a flinch," and then they'd say, "Good fight, good." What would they say? Good strike. There you go. That's what they always say. Good strike. I'm like having a brain aneurysm over here. Good strike, and then all of a sudden, the broadcast was like, "Wow, okay, it was a good strike. That's interesting." They weren't being unfair for sure.
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things, and Dana kind of alluded to it. He said, the Nevada Athletic Commission is here, but they're shorthanded. So yes, they were there, but they didn't have all of, their support staff that they would normally have at their events if it was in Nevada. So they had all the equipment, they had all their cameras, they had everything there. Overall, there was some controversial calls that may have not been called. There was just a lot of twists and turns. You kind of alluded to it right off the top. I mean, even, the Crazy Hawaiian, Paige Van Zandt fight, both ending in a draw, not the way that everybody would like that to happen, especially from the betting side. Where is all the money going? Typically on those two fights, and both those being draws and being pushes, isn't really good for getting that avid follower into it, whoever did place, bets on those two particular matches. But the funny thing is, just going back to the Godfrey and the Chief fight, I thought was interesting, was very reminiscent of Power Slap #1, Robert Trujillo versus Jewel Scott, getting that vicious KO to start the night and hoping that it would set up for the things to come. Overall, the card, obviously, like we said, had some matches that got redacted from it. And then we got some matches that elevated, one of those being Eddie Spaghetti going up against Azael Rodriguez. In a lot of ways, Azael sitting there as the #1 contender was kind of being a little bit forgotten on. I think at that #1 may not have been getting the respect that he deserves. And he went in and with an incredible performance, overall taking care of fellow Canadian Eddie in that particular match. Both show great skill, determination, heart overall. Azael had one moment there where he got, hit really good. I believe it might've been the second round, and it looked like he was going to fall and collapse, kind of in that zombie mode. And all of a sudden, boom, snapped out of it within seconds, didn't fall, anything else, back to it and became victorious. I mean, right now we put up the poll. You guys head over to our Instagram. Isaih Quinones, who is next? Brandon the Butcher Bordeaux? Is it Azael Rodriguez? Or is it somebody else? Let us know. That poll is live right now on Instagram. Ding, Azael was business the entire week. He had his wife with him. I mean, what did you think of his performance overall in that match?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Azael was in true form. We saw it. I remember it distinctly from the second John Davis fight. And if we get a second here in a minute, I'll pull it up. But there's a moment where his eyes sort of roll back in his head, his knees buckle, his head kind of goes up, and he starts to seem like he's gonna go down. And then all of a sudden, just that animal, that dog, right? That Mexican fighting spirit kicks in, and it says, "Nope, not today," right? And it's incredible. I've never seen anything like it from any striker. I mean, the recovery that he has is almost so instantaneous that you barely notice that he's that hurt. I mean, in this one, I think, and again, we'll take a look at it, but I believe he touched his chin on the podium. Like, that's how low he went, and didn't, he, as soon as he is back to his feet and fully standing straight up, he's just like normal. He doesn't stumble. He's not wobbled. He doesn't need to hold on. I mean, it's incredible to watch the way that this guy recovers. And I think Azael definitely his stock didn't go down at all in that fight. Not only did he win, of course, Eddie's not extremely high ranked, but he said pre-fight he would prove why he's the number one middleweight in the world. And it has been for a very long time. And I think that he did exactly that. Unfortunately for him, John Davis lost the championship. So he will no longer be the number one middleweight in the world. As soon as those rankings are updated, the champion will automatically descend to that spot. But nonetheless, very, very high level stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Couldn't agree with you more. I think Eddie's stock actually rises even in this particular match with the loss, Azael cementing himself once again at the top of that division. And potentially, I mean, it could be up to you guys too. And Slap News, head over, like I said, to that poll. Is Azael Rodriguez the first person to take on Isaih Quinones in that division? We'll see. Another match that was originally slated to be taped that we were able to see. Danny, the Pitbull Van Heerden, gets a disqualification victory over Evian Scott. I mean, Danny Van Heerden's been on both sides now. DQ loss to McKinney Manu. DQ victory here. Where does it leave both of these strikers now? Because Danny can't seem to get that impressive KO that he's been looking for. And I think he's still leaving us with a lot to be desired for what he can bring to this sport. But what's your overall take, Ding, of this match?
I think when I heard that it was on the tape prelims, I thought to myself, I probably understand why, right? A lot of power between these two guys, a lot of grit, determination, but there's some issues with fouls, and there has been historically from both guys. Mm-hmm. And I think that was a big concern. I was actually surprised that fight got bumped up before Azael Eddie did. If you remember, that fight replaced Austin Turpin, Russell Rivero, whereas Azael Eddie replaced Dakota McGregor, Joshua Bolver. So Evian shows again, right? The chin on display. He's very, very tough, but he just has to clean up his strike. We've had this issue before. This is not anywhere close to the first time. He's also a guy that's been on the wrong side of it, right? Having the disqualification the disqualification win to the Hawaiian Hitman Dane Viernes. And so I understand, that generally speaking, he hasn't had so much time up there, but I've been high on the guy since the beginning, mm-hmm. and we just haven't seen his coming out party yet. And I think for Danny Van Heerden, this victory doesn't do a ton for him. And I think bouncing back from, the fact that this guy made it 5 rounds after how hurt he looked in that last fight against Hawaiian, I think he deserved a coming out party. I think he deserved a redemption story, and I just don't think that he got that. He walked away with the W for sure, but I don't think it raised his stock any, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely am waiting to see more from him, across the board. I think, unfortunately, Power Slap takes a step back from him at this point. I think you're going to give other guys like McKinney Manu an opportunity. I think you're going to see Kalani come back. Guys like Slapdog. I mean, you're going to see these guys, I think, are going to get the opportunities. I think Danny's going to have to sit out and wait an event or 2 or 3 potentially until that division kind of sorts itself out now. I mean, he's been given some opportunities, obviously, against the crazy Hawaiian. Evian Scott here, I believe, is ranked around, number 5-ish, I believe, in the division. I don't have it up in front of me right now. But Danny's definitely got to work his way back into the mix on this one. It might be out of his control. We know Frank wants to see KO knockouts. You want to see victories. Disqualification, losses and or victories don't really move you too much in the rankings. And so I guess we'll see. We know, Danny Van Heerden is making, a push, trying to make a name for himself. We'll see how that happens. He's been given some opportunities. I just think that division is going to kind of evolve a little bit over time here and kind of change. And so we'll have to see when that next time he gets that call. Overall, we didn't hear much from Danny because, like you said, it was a late addition to the card. Wasn't really able to see his true personality come through and shine like we always have. But he's going to live to see another day, and hopefully we see him back. And but let's keep rolling, man. I know you talked about Dakota McGregor and Joshua Bovair. One of those weird scenarios where the match gets pulled, in the days following the day that the fighters fly out, all of a sudden the match gets pulled from the card. One of those guys driving to the airport, Dakota McGregor. How heartbreaking was it, my man?
It was beyond deflating. I can't even express it, honestly. I didn't think it would happen, but it's part of the fight game, and I learned a big lesson that day. But yeah, being at the airport and getting the call, it's like it sucked.
Well, my man, you're there. Obviously, you probably took the better part of a week and a half off work, cleared your schedule, getting ready to go over there. I'm sure the Brass of Power Slap did whatever they could to try to find a fill-in or replacement, but really at that moment, it probably just was almost next to impossible to be able to ensure that everything was put in place. Can you share anything of like kind of what was said to you, in that moment? Were they trying to find another fight? Were they just straight like, hey, this is unfortunate, got to cancel? Did they make any future promises? We're going to see you anytime soon?
I don't know how much I should disclose. I mean, it happened and it's past us, so it doesn't really matter in my eyes. For a couple things, like I won't disclose everything, but because I'm not one to talk about, people in their personal lives. But I do know they offered the match to Isaac and Anthony DeFrank, and neither of them had their passports, so they couldn't fly them out. And yeah, I was told they offered it to Robert, and he turned it down. So and I could understand, like, it was pretty short notice. But he was also there to coach, so I thought maybe he would have put it together that potentially if one of us fell out, he'd just fill in. But it is what it is. We'll see him someday.
Yeah, very interesting to hear that kind of revelation. And unfortunately, if you said there's 3 offers and they weren't able to pull it together, one of those things, I guess, in the fight game that there's obviously a lot more complications to go on. We haven't spoken to Josh about it, anything that happened. I spoke to Eddie. He seemed to say that Josh was okay. I hope and prayer that everything is good with him. Everything's health wise. We never really got a formal, understanding of what happened there, but definitely wish him. And I'm sure you echo the same thing that he's in good spirits and good health, and everything that goes involved with that. Did you get a holiday? Or did you go right back to work?
I pretty much went right back to work. I got to make that money, right? I planned to go out to New York and stay with Anthony DeFrank and do a bit of charity work after my fight. So I tied up a little bit more money than I planned to with outside of the fight. So we got to recoup that, which is fine,
Did you end up going to New York afterwards or no?
I didn't. I have to reschedule that. It's just it didn't work out, right? They were gonna pay to fly me to New York after my fight, so I just figured it was the perfect time to, kill two birds with one stone, see my friend, get some charity work done, and yeah, it fell through. So next time we'll make up for it.
Awesome, my man.
Yeah.
Ding, you got anything for Dakota?
Yeah, Dakota, listen, man, I was gutted for you. It kind of looked like over that period of time you were sort of processing this publicly, and of course, we talked privately in the DMs about your feelings and kind of what you felt like was next. But I mean, what do you think makes the most sense now, right? We find out later, obviously, you alluded to Robert Trujillo not ended up taking the fight, but obviously we find out at the event or right before the event that he's also not present to coach.
Yeah.
He got sick on his way out there. And Alan Klingbeil steps up. My understanding is he was originally a spectator that flew out there to just watch the event, and he's like, "Put me in. I'll coach." And they're like, "Okay, all right, deal." And it goes on that way. So I mean, as you sit here today, I mean, what do you think? You alluded to also online that Power Slap would make up for this, right? You were at the airport, you put your life on hold to make this trip across the virtually across to the middle of the world. And it gets canceled pretty abruptly, not a whole lot of notice, right? You're like literally about to board the plane. You've gotten all the accommodations. You've kind of made sure your kids have care. You've taken off of work. They tell you that, we're sorry, we're going to make it up to you. What does that look like? What to you makes this whole thing whole?
Honestly, I'm just blessed for the opportunity to be a part of this, but I got to be faithful in them and just, be faithful that they'll make it up to me with whatever they provide me with, I guess. So, I mean, the way I look at it, I gotta earn this myself too, right? Like, so when they say they'll make it up to me, I gotta have faith in them and earn it myself too at the same time.
And another thing I saw, this may have been an error, I'm not sure, but according to the official rankings, Robert Trujillo is the #1 lightweight. Joshua Bovair is the #2 lightweight, and you sit at #3. But I saw on your Instagram you put that you're #2. #1, was that on purpose? And #2, talk me through kind of that thought process, because we've seen that before on the UFC side.
Yeah, that was me just like maybe giving a little dig at Josh, like, because he was like, I'm gonna have to come take his spot, and I tried to, and it's what happened. So I'll have to update it and make it #3, but we'll see. I'm hoping to get back at it sooner than later and take that #2 spot. Hoping me and him can meet back up a little sooner than later, but I don't know. I feel like I'm #2 right now.
Yeah, I mean, is this? I imagine you watched Power Slap 8 because you filmed the show right before it. How many live events have you watched now? Via the broadcast or in person?
I've watched pretty much all of them. Yeah.
Oh, live, like as they're happening?
No, not live as they're happening. Just rewatch all of them.
So live as they're happening. How many have you watched? Was this the first one?
Probably at least 3. Yeah.
Okay. And what would you make of this card overall, from top to bottom, from the Chief and Darren Godfrey all the way up to Hawaiian and Dumpling?
See, I have some mixed emotions. Like, I feel like being selfish, I feel like I really could have stood out on this card, but like seeing the fouls that people are getting away with and just little things that would bother me if I was there and competing. So I don't know. I'm glad I'm not there, or not. I'm kind of glad I didn't compete there, because I feel like they'll make it up to me, and I don't know. It's just things happen for a reason, right?
Yeah. Is there anything that you've heard from your peers about the event, maybe negative or positive, that either made you glad that you didn't compete, or even, I guess, more disappointed that you didn't get to compete, one way or the other?
Yeah, definitely. And I don't want to throw any names out there or anything like that, but yeah, I heard a couple things, and it was just made me a little more comfortable with being home. Now,
without any name dropping, are you able to share like what that sort of feedback was, and like what it was that made you feel like, all right, it wasn't such a bad thing that happened?
Maybe
if you can't, it's all good. No pressure.
Like you guys alluded to earlier about like people not being able to use their phones and like their money and stuff like that. Maybe us as fighters, we just aren't prepared enough to go to countries like this. Maybe that's more what it is. I don't know, but like I know some people were having problems calling home and stuff like that. So, and yeah, it sucks when you miss your family and you just want to talk to them.
I do know James Siegman sort of publicly revealed that he spent the entire trip not realizing that Wi-Fi calling was a thing.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
James, if you're watching, man, or you watch this later, we love you, dude. But
yes, we do. That walkout was legendary.
I will say, just sort of breaking the fourth wall here. I thought it was interesting, and Corey can talk a little bit about this, but I thought it was interesting the layout of everything. The media was positioned like well off center in a place that was unusual because you kind of were to the back of one athlete and to the front of the other, but at a weird angle where they were almost exactly parallel. So if you had the wrong seat, you really wouldn't be able to see both. Like one's head would cover the other. That's a really interesting sort of, a spectator viewpoint for media. Some of the guys still were good sports about it, and still took videos or whatever from that point of view. We Slab News, of course, as you guys know, we got creative and figured it out, but it was just interesting, like, of all the places to position the people who are like reporting on this stuff, taking photos and all that, like way off in this weird area, that it's like it was almost like you're on one side of the fight. But again, I mean, as far as the broadcast goes for you, just listening to some of the commentary, is there anything that you learn from listening as an athlete, of course, right? I'm watching it from a different point of view than you are. Is there anything that you learn from either listening to the broadcast or watching some of the specific things that happen on stage, not necessarily not necessarily involving the two athletes, but maybe the referee or the broadcast things that Michael Bisping or Dan Hellie say? Is there anything you pick up on that?
I just find the way I'm noticing the way that they score, like Michael Bisping's scorecard, I guess we'll say. I find he plays it off the reactions of the way people take slaps. Like if it comes down to both fighters being able to take each other's strike, more or less, he's like scoring his scorecard off the reactions of how the person like takes the slap and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm still learning. I don't think that's how it's initially scored, but yeah, it's I don't know. I'm learning. I really wanted to meet him, Michael Bisping.
Well, you will. Yeah, you will. But what's interesting is the point that you make. I actually think if anybody didn't see it or doesn't remember or whatever, I would encourage you to go back and watch the Dumpling Hawaiian fight. I think that those guys actually had their scorecard, completely wrong, and I think the reason for that was that there was a severe misunderstanding of flinching. Right, the rule specifically states you either take a point or you restrike. It's not both. And if you restrike, the first strike is disregarded by the judge. It's not. It's as if it didn't happen. And I know Dumpling talked about that. Right, there was a bit of a delay during the bout with them trying to explain to him, because at one point it looked like Jason Herzog took a point, but then said, Dumpling, if you want to restrike. So it was just very, very confusing. And it felt like the broadcast picked that up because they had it 39-36. I believe it was Michael Bisping. I don't want to misspeak on who that was.
Yeah.
But they had it 39-36 Dumpling.
As
you were getting through to the fourth round, I'm like, whoa.
That was the only fight I actually got to watch while it was live. And I watched it with a couple people, and they were asking me, like, what's going on here? And I was explaining to them that if he restrikes, that point that was taken is basically null. Like it's no longer a thing. And a lot of people don't know that.
It was just interesting because normally you don't do that. Normally you just give the fighter the opportunity to restrike if they'd like to. I don't think we've ever seen somebody say no. I think everyone has taken the second strike.
Yes.
But it was just confusing because he took the point, then realized he has to allow the striker the ability to choose. So then the striker chose, but nobody kind of got on the horn and clarified that for the audience. They just kind of proceeded as normal. But again, I mean, it's pretty clear. The rule states, if you can go look at it, powerslap.com/rules. It was just an unusual sequence of events. And again, that scorecard 39-36 Dumpling, I think, was severely lopsided. because he was assuming that these points had been taken from Hawaiian.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll let Corey close if he has any other questions.
Yeah, no, just kind of going, one of the interesting things about being there live is that you don't get the commentating. And especially, even if you're in the front row, you miss some of the finer details of what is going on. You don't get to hear, you don't get to hear the corners. The one thing that was interesting was that Dumpling was the only athlete to have his own coach. I don't know if you noticed that on the broadcast or not. Allen was there as well, but he had his own coach, and then he had the UFC provided translator. Going into it, I mean, Dumpling was sitting in the hotel, very, very friendly, doesn't speak really a lick of English. I mean, he came up to me and, no English, smile, thumbs up, everything was happy, kind of, leading into it. But I'll tell you, in the post-fight press conference, it was actually, so him and the Crazy Hawaiian actually, because the Crazy Hawaiian came into the press room first. As he was leaving, Dumpling was coming in, and they had an argument and disagreement there. And Dumpling was quite upset about not knowing the actual rules that, or how the rules played out, which you guys seen in the post-fight press conference. But it was interesting to see that with this particular setup, I mean, the venue itself, we can talk about it later, Ding, but just the configuration of it, wasn't really set up for the additional rooms. The media room was on a second level, so you had to go in an elevator and go up to it, which is kind of different. There was no other, media partner access areas, and it was kind of one way in, one way out, which had the athletes, butt and kind of confront each other, which you don't typically see. We weren't sure if we were going to see both athletes, because sometimes when they have a draw, they don't bring either athlete out. But obviously, being the main event, they did so. It was definitely a weird fight. I mean, obviously not one you want to see kind of end that way. But I'm not sure if it translated to the broadcast or not. But the audience was screaming, one more round.
Yeah, absolutely. We absolutely heard that.
And so, Dana talked about in the post-fight press conference, he's like, hey, he said, I think we actually have this wrong. He goes, I think we need to get back to Nevada and get this rule changed. And I mean, I think it makes perfect sense in something like this, where you can get that extra, that extra round, you get the overtime in other sports. And I really hope it's something that they bring forward and really, provoke change in that, because this is a prime example, of it. And, these two men, being almost 400 pounds, the blows that they were, taking, I mean, it was quite interesting to see. It was hard being there to really judge that fight, because you couldn't see really the total amount of accumulation, just because these guys are both brute, rocks up there.
What I find kind of weird? Why don't they make him tie his beard?
Why they don't? It's interesting, because
that's a loaded question, man.
The only reason why I ask is because they made Blake Howard in our season. I do believe they made him.
Yeah.
And he has way shorter beard than him. So I don't know. So
I've heard two sides to this story. Okay. So I've heard, by having the beard, and this came from, and you can check on Slap News, from Ron Wolverine Beta. He was told by the commission that if you have a beard and you claim that, you got palm striked or you got clubbed, your beard makes it incredibly difficult for us to see it. So they put the onus upon the fighter that you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt have the long beard. So we've seen that, but then, we've also seen that on the opposite side, let's take it once again, Ron Wolverine Beta versus Austin Turpin. And I'm sure you adamantly know it. I think it was the first strike that Austin got all beard because he couldn't adequately line up, and you just see all of Ron's beard flying through the air. So there's a tale of two sides here. I don't know if there's a precedent. It could be one of those things that it's a ref judgment call.
Okay.
That they made it happen. I don't think there's anything set in stone with it. I think we're past the point of a beard absorbing a strike and how much it matter, et cetera, et cetera. But really, it comes down to now, I think, more so the alignment of the strike to ensuring safety.
Yeah.
The Crazy Hawaiian is one of those athletes, I think, that benefits from his competitor having a beard, because the way that he strikes, and Ding alluded to it before, it's very much a cupping of the face.
Yeah.
In the way that he delivers it. So it's kind of a mixture of both, but we've seen like both athletes weren't able to deliver the momentum of the strike through their opponent as we've seen previously. Like obviously Camille with Dumpling, one shot down, everything else. So he wasn't doing that with the Crazy Hawaiian. The Crazy Hawaiian, on the opposite side was still stopping, as a rock as well. We weren't seeing that momentum carry its way through. Obviously the Crazy Hawaiian, ended up, losing a point. Was it round 3? I believe they lost a point. Ding, do you remember for clubbing?
Yeah. Well, it was round 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Round 3, which obviously, could have really been the difference in this particular match. And if you compound that with, like you said, if Dumpling would have taken the point, because I don't think either athlete was going out in 5 rounds, so really looking at that could have made it even more lopsided, but it comes through with a draw. In this particular one, we have requested to get the scorecards to actually see how it was judged each round by round. We haven't received a response back yet. So we don't know. If we do, we'll obviously disclose that, but at this particular moment, we don't have that information for you guys. So we'll see. It's not in Nevada, so I don't know if it's going to be public information either. So that's where we're at, my man. But appreciate you joining me, Dakota.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Hopefully we'll see you back real soon, my man.
Hopefully soon. Yeah. Take care, boys.
Let's go. All right, Ding. One of the things I wanted to talk about too, with being there, and, a lot of the newcomers, I think, that were in attendance were incredibly shocked. This entire event flew by. It was done under 2 hours. It was fight after fight after fight. It kept on going. We had a wide range of, knockout. We've had, decision, victories, even like what we had with, Robin Wershuk going in and defeating Jackie Cataline by majority decision. Did you see that one coming? Robin's good for the sport. As crazy as she is, if you haven't seen her pre-fight interview, go check it out on Slap News. But free-spirited, different type of girl, gets up there dancing, having fun, everything. I don't know. It's a different look than what we've previously seen. She was able to go in there and take care of Jackie Cataline, who's no slouch with obviously her MMA background and her wrestling background. I think that was one of the biggest things with Robin, was that she didn't have high level combat sport experience. She did have, I believe, an amateur Muay Thai fight before this. She did have one, slap fight with that Polish league. But the slaps were nowhere near what they were being delivered in Power Slap. And she danced her way up on stage, and she danced her way off stage with 2 checks. So a lot went right for her in that day. I'm sure we'll see her back. And she's opening up, the map for Scotland. What did you think of her performance, Ding?
Yeah, of course, a surprise, man. A debutante, obviously going to bring in somebody like Jackie, who, began her Power Slap career with a vicious knockout over, Sheena Bathory, who's kind of the she-wolf of Power Slap, man. And then obviously she goes on, has that fight against Katarina Lehner, wins that by this DQ, a little bit of irony there. And fast forward, now she has a fight where it's kind of clean, but Robin ate what she was giving her, whether that's just a testament to Robin's chin, or maybe Jackie couldn't put, maybe she was concerned about fouling and she didn't put her full kind of strength on it. But I agree. I think women in general are good for the sport, but particularly when they're that competitive, right? It wasn't a blowout by any means. It wasn't a domination on either side. It was a competitive match. And I'd like to see both women back.
Yeah, I think Robin dropped an incredible quote. She's like, "You can't give me brain damage because I already have it." In a pre-fight interview. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. We've got a guest waiting in the wings. Guy that was very calm, cool, collected, very confident. Learned a lot about this guy, was able to have some really great conversation, the entire week. Wes Mena came into this match. We didn't think we were going to see it. It was one of those tape fights. Dana surprises us all, goes live on Instagram, gives us this opportunity. And I mean, with one of the most viral sensations that we had on our entire platform was delivered by Wes Mena. My man, how good does it feel?
It feels great, man. Just excited. I'm just grateful of that opportunity, and I just took full advantage.
Absolutely. So you go there, Abu Dhabi, obviously, you didn't have to wait long. First match, you're probably the first, I think you were on roughly 6:15-ish. The rest of the card starting 8:00. You're probably the only guy on the bus. You probably went early. Talk to me about that. Kind of being there and just kind of going into it lone wolf style.
Yeah, man. They called me down. Hey, come straight to the lobby, and they had my coaches there with me, and it was just a matter of time. Hey, get on the bus, and I was like, hey, I'm like the only one on the bus, so okay, so
Yeah.
I was the first one on the bus, first one in the building, first one in the locker room, and it was a great opportunity. It was great. It was awesome, man. I couldn't trade anything in the world for it. It's just, and I was already used to going first, so I know when I did the season, me and James were like the first match. So as far as yeah, I believe we were the first match, but I was already used to it, and I was just ready to set the tone, and that's what it was.
Absolutely. I mean, judging from Dana's vantage point, was it Damien the Bell that was your coach?
Yeah.
Awesome. Talk to me about what you learned from the champ.
Man, first of all, it's a humble, cool ass dude, man. He was great. I got to talk to him and just pick his brain a little bit and just being around him and see how he carries himself. I like the Bell. He's a good, humble cat. You can tell he comes from a good, humble background, and just it was able to learn a lot from him, man. And at that short little time that I was with him, and yeah, it was cool, man. Just and then got in. I brought my own Tide pads, so I was able to bring my own Tide pads. Went to the back before the match, hit a little swings. I looked them at him a couple of times. Like, yeah, soon to come. But overall, man, he was great. Great coaching. It was great all experience.
Yeah. I mean, talk to me. I mean, you were able to see Awa before the
Yeah.
fight, around the hotel. There was a lot made about the size of his hands, the biggest hands in Power Slap has ever seen, as a guy that lives in Abu Dhabi now.
Yeah.
Where was your mindset going into it ahead of time? And honestly, did you feel like you were an underdog just with the chirping that was kind of going around in the circles at the hotel?
Yeah, most definitely. So when I was in the hotel, man, I was like, man, where's my opponent at? Like, I want to, at least just talk with him, just see where his mind is at. And sure enough, I just see him looking like a freaking big Pokemon over there. And he was a big guy. And I like that because that brings the best out of me. But I was able to come up to him and we was able to he's really good cat, man. Good. You can tell he's just he was different for sure, but he was a nice guy, man, real nice guy. Didn't have anything negative to say about me, no nothing, and I respect that. Yeah, he was a good guy. Got to shake his hand, got to have that little shake, and everything was just great, man. He was a good guy. I have nothing bad to say, other than I feel like he did disrespect us in a way, but and that's what happened. Yeah.
In which way did he disrespect?
I feel like he's trying to use us as us power slap athletes to use that as a footnote, like to come into our sport, trying to get Dana White's attention, and I even mentioned it on my live. Like that's cool. To me it was like disrespect in a way. Like, okay, if you're gonna do UFC, just try to get your name out there. Don't come into my sport and trying to make a name, especially, and then I'm going against you, and you're trying to make a footnote, an example out of me. Like, hey, I'm just trying to you. And then he even discussed that in your interview with you. He was more so like, yeah, I'm just trying to get to the UFC. I want to, meet Dana White. I want to, and to me, that was like a complete disrespect in a way, because it's like, bro, this is the slap game. Like I said, this is different. You're taught to dodge punches and all that stuff. You're taking a slap to the face, and you can be big all you want. You could be all muscle bound you want. I seen his videos, arm wrestling champ, whatever, lifting up engines with his hands. None of that shit means nothing, bro, if he ain't got no chin. And I felt like I proved that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I don't think a lot of people know about your story, the weight loss journey that you've had,
Mm,
to be able to get here, and be in, the best shape of your life,
yeah.
to be able to come perform admirably the way that you did.
Hmm.
Like, what do you think that's the true testament? I mean, the sport's too new. So you didn't grow up, obviously, wanting to be a slap fighter. I
No.
mean, it's way too new.
Yeah.
But, do you feel like this sport was like that you were really meant for this sport and it's a true blessing that it's fallen into your lap?
Yeah, man. I just overall, as I was young, bro, I did my football, my wrestling, and I was just always into that physicality of just toughness, and I just love like violent sports. It just what's bring the best out of me, and I knew one day I would make it in something, man. Whether it be football, whether I did, wrestling, UFC, whatever, and then just even training with those guys at
Mhm.
American Top Team with Chris Barnett and all those guys. I just love the violence, bro. It's just what fuels me. And I know one day I would just take it somewhere. It would land me. My thing is like the resilience that I had. I never gave up. I'm 34 years old. And I still never gave up, bro. I knew someday this would happen, and
Mhm.
I just took full advantage of the opportunity, bro. And then speaking on that weight loss journey, like it made me better as a person. I was very unhealthy, back in those times, and I just decided to make the change and better for myself
Mhm.
and better my, living.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Talk to me about the strike that ended up putting Awa away, because it almost looked like you were almost I don't say you were in shock, but it looked like you still weren't certain. Like, it almost looked like, did you think that he was going to get back up? Because your response was still unsure. You kind of had a pause before the celebration happened. Talk to me about the strike, and did you think that strike was going to be enough to put him away?
Yeah, as soon as I put him away, bro, I was just, I was in that mode. I was just on some beast mode. I was just looking to his soul as he was just like on the floor. I was just like, bro, just lay down, because if I hit you again, I'm really gonna put you out. And I was at that point, I was really concerned for his safety, because I knew if I hit him again and he got up, it was gonna be bad. So yeah, I just was confident enough that I knew I was gonna put him down with that strike. I felt so great coming in. I felt so confident just on my striking and my defense, just my offense and defense, bro. I took his slaps. James hits harder than that. Like it wasn't nothing I haven't felt before. Like it was, I just hope Power Slap drops my match really soon so everybody can just see what happened and what transpired. But
Mhm.
for the most part, yeah, man, it was great, man. I was just locked in. I was locked in.
Awesome, man. Kind of reminiscent of a little Alan Klingbeil, that strike, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was practicing and it paid off, bro. I was just so confident. I
Yeah.
just knew like from the face-offs, you can tell just me smiling and I was so confident, bro. And I was just when I get to that point where I gotta like people are doubting me, like I want them to doubt me because it just brings the dog out of me. And so I just made a point to prove, and they said, I'm the boom, quote unquote. And I wanted to prove that. I don't want to just call myself the boom, you know what I'm saying? I got that nickname from playing football, because I was always trucking guys and hurting guys. But I wanted to bring it over to Power Slap, and I wanted to prove that, and I wanted to make a statement, and I wanted to earn that. So I
Mhm.
felt like with this match, I felt like I earned my name, the boom, and I'm gonna continue to bring the boom to whoever's in front of me. And like I said, Corey, like I feel so confident now. Like that strike, that's all I needed. Now whoever's in front of me, I feel so confident in my abilities to take a slap and to receive and take a hit, so I feel great.
Yeah, Wes. I'm curious. I mean, and I don't know how much if you've given any thought to this, but Dana White goes live for your match.
Mm-hmm.
which is incredibly risky because if it's a dud, I mean, he can get rid of it, right? He can make like, for anybody who didn't view live, he can essentially pretend it never happened.
Mm-hmm.
But he's taking a gamble on you, and I think when you think about sort of, and this has happened to Dana in other cases before, but where he'll do something and it'll either it'll shoot him in the foot publicly or he'll sort of vindicate himself and say, "Yep, that was the right decision." In your case, you absolutely pass with flying colors and sort of encourage him, if you will, to do this again, right? In the future, he shouldn't be gun shy when it comes to showing the prelims or the taped prelims, if you will, on his social media platform exclusively. And then, of course, from there, kind of took off. I don't know how much of that you've seen from your own social, but like Corey alluded to earlier, the performance on our social from your clip was, if not the best, it was top two. I don't know. I mean, Hawaiian obviously has quite a bit of influence. But based on the way that your match ended, I believe if I'm not mistaken, you were at the top there. What do you think, or how does that feel for you to sort of be this pioneer of this is the first time that I can remember that Dana's ever gone live to show that first fight, and it goes the way that it goes because of your performance. How does that make you feel?
I mean, it feels good at the end of the day because I know at the end of the day, bro, like, I wanted to set the tone for the whole card, whether it be televised or it's not. I just wanted to set the tone and prove myself. And not only just prove to the guys, my doubters, I wanted to prove to myself that I can do this and I belong in this sport. Yeah, I mean, it felt great. He announced it, put it on his gram. I believe it's had like 4 point something million views already. I think I had the most views and it was non-televised. I think when he showed it, it was already at like 2 million views. And it wasn't even televised. So that just tells you something, and it just, I wanted to knock this guy out and just make my case and it worked out in my favor, bro. Like it was great. I feel like there was a lot of doubters and I proved a lot of people wrong because they saw how big he was, how big his hand was, and his history, and that I just wanted to lay all that to rest, and I did with a strong performance.
Yeah, and I mean, talk to me about when you hit him with that first strike. He seemed to really absorb it pretty well. Did anything? Did you in that moment? Did you feel like, man, this is going to be a long night, or did you kind of double down on yourself and say, I still can get this guy out of here despite the way that he, his emotion and his body language after he absorbed that first strike from you?
So you talking about the first strike that he got from me or I got from him?
No, the first strike that he got from you.
Oh, okay. Nah. So I don't want to. I want people to watch the match. I don't want to give too much away, but I mean, when he took my strike, when I hit him, it was more so like, okay, let me test his chin. Let me see where it's at. Um, I want people to watch the match before I say certain things, but it's for the most part, bro. I just was confident and it just felt great. Um, he has, to me, he had like a small head, but he was like muscle bound all around. So I was like, I know if I hit him in the right spot, he can go down. And yeah, I mean, he hit me. Um, James hits harder. I've been hit a lot harder, and it was surprising because all the muscle he had. So like when I got hit the first time because he won the coin toss, man, that shit was like a feather. It felt good. Like it didn't even wake me up. I just like, oh, that's it. Like really, And I stood there, like a brick. Didn't move a muscle. Took his hit. Then it was my turn. I hit him. It did what it did, and then we exchanged. He hit me again. I ate that, and then bam, second round knockout. I hit him. I knocked him out.
Yeah, and another thing that I don't know if you've given too much thought to, but you are, as far as I'm aware, you're the only Dominican fighter on the roster. I'm not Dominican. I'm Puerto Rican, but we're right here. We're right here.
Yeah. Okay. We're right here.
There's a couple Puerto Ricans on the roster.
Yeah.
Obviously, a new champion. But to be honest, I mean, there is a Hispanic, background that does have a storied career in combat sports. Those being the Mexicans. Puerto Ricans and Dominicans don't exactly. We're more baseball players, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What does it mean to you to be representing Hispanics from particularly people from Dominican Republic in a sport or a lineage of sports that we really don't have a ton of history rooted in?
It feels great to just represent the Dominican culture. I know, like when I won my match, like my dad was just going crazy. I had family back home, just all happy. From the barbershops to even over here in Atlanta, there's a lot of Dominicans out here, a lot of Hispanics out here, and they were extremely proud. I just go into a lounge yesterday, and everybody's just, "Hey, we saw your match, da da da." I'm like, "Oh, really? Y'all saw my match?" It wasn't even televised, but they just saw the social media, and they were so happy. And it's just, it feels great, man. And it's just like you have the Hawaiians, the great culture that they have, the guys that are in this sport, Pono, the Crazy Hawaiian, the Hawaiian Hitman, all those guys, the Chief, you have all those guys, and then you have, the Isaiah, the Pitbull, like all those guys, bro. And we have a Hispanic like background too. So you have the Hawaiians, you have the Hispanic back end. Yeah, we have Puerto Ricans, we have Mexicans, we have Dominicans. I'm the first Dominican. I want to represent, as much as I can, the state, the city of Atlanta, and the Dominican aspect. My people, we do come from a baseball lineage, so like that. I want to be able to represent, a whole nother realm of sport to like my country, man. So it was great. It felt great to represent. I just knew, like, when I came out to my entrance, I had some rap music coming out to my entrance, but I know once I get to the point where I want to be at in this sport and I get to that top of that card, bro, I will be representing my Dominican culture in the future for sure, and I want to keep it that way.
Yeah, it'll be great to see, man. Like you said, this is a very, very Hawaiian heavy sport. It has been, I anticipate it will be. But again, I mean,
Mhm.
for most divisions of Hispanics, it's all baseball.
Mhm.
Of course, like I said, Mexicans have a deep history rooted in combat, but
Violence.
it's just
Mhm.
interesting to see how all that plays out, right? There's also, like I said, there's a couple Puerto Ricans now, right? You got Isaiah, you
Yeah.
got Jonathan Correa, Rican
Mhm.
Rambo. La
Yeah.
Cuca is around, but he's obviously not in power slap, but he's a slap talent.
Mhm.
So it's just interesting to see how all those cultures sort of mix, and you start to see these trends with people who really want to sort of represent their culture in a way
Yeah.
that's very unique. If I must be honest, you beat a guy who, I mean, I don't want to say anybody was high on him because we really don't know a lot about the guy as far as
Right.
this goes. And like you said, anybody who knows understands that this is just different. This is not
Yeah.
MMA. This is not arm wrestling. This is not strongman. And so you beat a guy that's not ranked. He's making his debut. How much do you think that sort of means for your career and your trajectory? One, in relation to the fact of how your only fight or the only thing we've seen from you went with James on the show, but also from the standpoint of the rankings and the fact that again this guy was not ranked, but you disposed of him in such a manner. Like, how do you think all of those things combined factor in to figure out sort of where you stand as you move forward now?
Honestly, bro, like, it's just all worked out in itself. Like, in a way, bro, like, just going against Awa, being as it his first time, yeah, he was maybe the favorite. A lot of people, you can tell I was the underdog, but I did have the experience. And so I just knew, like, I was so green when I went up against James. Like, like, if you look back at my match, like, yeah, I won, but not how I wanted to win. But you could see, like, from the position of my chin, how I slapped, it was just completely different from when I went against Awa. And I think, like, moving forward, if you can just break down and see the highlights of my slap, you can actually see the difference. And like, it was just a completely new person, bro. So I just went and dialed in. I had some help along the way. So I will do want to credit the Crazy Hawaiian. Man, he helped me out so much, bro, and it was a blessing. And I credit to him. From Pono to the Crazy Hawaiian, it's just little intricate details that they, hey Wes, just be yourself, and that you can retain information from different people. You can be like, hey, do this and do that, but then when they tell you, you really got to apply it. So it could be one in ear, one out the other, and you might not even apply it. So it's different. Someone could be telling you to do something, and then when you get on that stage, it's different. I actually applied myself and I took the time to listen to what they were saying and just take certain details and apply it to my slap. And once you watch that match and when they upload it, you will see how I took the hit, you will see how I gave the hit, and it just worked out in my favor. I guarantee you, moving forward, I will be making a run, bro. I've gotten to the point where like I feel like I mastered my slap. And I don't want to say that just because it's been just one match. Like I want to be able to prove that time and time again. I fear no man but God, and whoever they put in front of me will have a tough show. Or just it's gonna be war, bro. And I'm locked in. And with Awa is just unfortunately it was him. He's a great guy, but I had to put him out. He disrespected our sport, I feel like, and I had to make a statement, and I feel like I did.
Yeah, last thing before we let you go, man. Do you have the footage of your fight, whether official or unofficial?
Man, I have nothing.
You don't have anything. Okay. All right. Reach out to us privately and we'll work something out.
Yeah.
We may be able to get you some footage.
Thank you, bro. I want them to show the official footage, even the commentary to Michael Bisping and that whole shebang. He was great, by the way. Got to meet him, spent some time with him, and I think Power Slap uploaded a clip of like the 3 KOs, and then you can hear Michael Bisping, the reaction, and that's the type of stuff I love, just hearing their reaction and just just seeing what other people think of the slap. But overall, man, it was a great experience. Love Abu Dhabi though. The experience was awesome. Um, y'all will see me soon, bro. I just can't wait to get that next call and just see where it goes from there.
Awesome, Wes. Real quick, who do you want next?
Man, you know what? I won't lie, bro. There's a couple people I originally wanted, but it's like, bro, you fell off the map. Like, come on. Like, I wanted you to win. You know who I'm talking about. So it's just like,
Nate
what
Bernard?
can you do for me now? Huh?
Nate Bernard?
Yeah, I wanted Nate, man. But it's
Okay,
like, bro,
okay,
you're
okay.
0-3. If you go against me, bro, I'm gonna put you down, bro. And I'm saying that with complete respect. Nate, I know you're watching this. I love you, brother. We talked behind the scenes. Nate's a good guy. We're like each other. We're just like each other, bro. But like if you give me Nate, I will put you down, bro. It's a completely different me up there now. And I don't want to do that. So like he's 0-3. Give me somebody else. I love Nate. I don't want to do that to him. And you guys might, put this clip and, boost it up a little bit, but it's a complete honest truth. I don't I give me somebody else, bro, because I don't want to do that to Nate. I love you, Nate. Um Nate, I love you, dog.
Doesn't
It's
look like we
complete
gotta put the
respect,
clip up,
dog.
man.
But I
Doesn't look
don't
like
want
we
to do
gotta
that
put
to you,
the clip
Nate.
up.
I don't want to do that to you, Nate. I love you, dog, for real, bro. You was awesome, bro. We got to kick it backstage, but give me somebody else, man. I don't want to do that to Nate. I love Nate, bro. And I say that with humbleness, respect. Give me somebody else, But James, um. I called you out in the little post-fight interview after an hour. So like James, I want that lick back, bro. I got that win over you. James, I'm coming.
Awesome, my man. Appreciate it. We'll talk
Yes,
to you real
sir.
soon.
Appreciate
Okay?
you guys.
All right. Much love, man.
Yeah.
Taking a little update. A striker that was in the actual rule meeting in Abu Dhabi just wanted to say that during the rules meeting on this one, Mark Smith told the Hawaiian that he would have to tie his beard. Don't know what happened afterwards. So it looks like within the rules meeting that was a point of contention and something that was brought up. And apparently things didn't end that way. But good to get a little bit of insight to see that was something that was spoke about previously. Let's bring... actually, you know what? I'll let Puerto Rican do this one. We'll just exit off the screen, all right? Ask the ghost over here is going to make his exit.
Oh my God. All right. We're going to close out the show with the new middleweight champion, the first ever Puerto Rican power slap champion, a representative of all the people from the floating pile of garbage. Apparently, if you haven't heard that joke, look it up. Isaih Quinones. What's up, my brother? How are you?
What up? How are you guys?
Look at you, man. Back on the horse, right back to work.
Absolutely. I was here the next day as soon as I
No
got back.
games. Corey tried to set me up, man. He thought, I guess he's not into the Puerto Rican thing. He likes, but if you were Canadian, though, it'd be all good. He'd be fucking
right.
introducing
Corey
you.
loves
He'd
me,
be
bro.
screaming with a speakerphone, but all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, there's a Puerto Rican champion. He doesn't want to talk to you anymore."
Corey loves
look
me.
at the energy switching, man.
I'm just giving you some respect, my man, letting you do some honors, Ding. I was trying to be polite to you. How's that?
You can't do that, bro. When we're a floating pile of garbage, as the great Tony Hinchcliffe thought. What was I gonna say? From Judge Judy to Power Slap champion, dude. What a journey. It's incredible.
I mean, but I was in Power Slap before the Judge Judy thing, so.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Corey, did you know that? I thought that was pre-Power Slap. No shit.
No.
So okay, so from Power Slap light heavyweight to Judge Judy to Power Slap middleweight champion. Is that better?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, because the Judge Judy was just during my off time. I just went.
Shit. I thought that was old, bro.
Nah, that's when I had my suspension and I got offered to go make money to be on a TV show, so I did that.
Wow, I thought that was old. Awesome. That's a dope revelation. First, sort of initial thoughts. I mean, how does everything feel today as we sit here?
Amazing. I just knew. I mean, it's like I said in my other interviews, like it's not a surprise to me. I knew this was coming. I mean, when Corey and Jeeves and everybody came out, what was it, a year ago? You guys came out to Long Beach. I picked you guys up. We went out to dinner. Went around, hung out with, CT Fletcher and stuff like that. I told them in the car ride, I said, hey, guys, I was like, you'll see me as a champion, and I will be the middleweight champion. I told them this a year ago. So I already knew it was coming. I know what I have. I'm not cocky. I know the confidence I have. I know what my chin is, and I know what my power is. So I wasn't surprised when I walked away with that belt.
Yeah, I mean, as you sort of you alluded to all beforehand, you kind of knew that this is how this would all go, right? You said, I'm going to knock John Davis out. It's my time now. Were you surprised at all that it was round 3? I mean, he seemed okay for rounds 1 and 2. Obviously, you have the best viewpoint from anyone in the house. You're standing right there next to him. What did you see in John Davis, and were you surprised that it kind of took until round 3 for you to put him down?
I mean, honestly, I think I would have got him in 1. The problem with that, I mean, I don't know if you guys went back and watched it. I mean, John definitely has a strong chin, but on that first one, they should have called him for a flinch. His head definitely moved before I even made contact. Like, if you go back, you watch that replay, you could obviously see it was a big flinch. But I'm more upset that Mark called me on 2 flinches. The first one, cool, I'll give him that one. I dug down a little too much when I tightened up. But the second one definitely wasn't a flinch. I mean, compared to John Davis moving his head, mine wasn't a flinch. But, I mean, John Davis is a warrior. We already know. Like, he has a strong chin, but I knew it couldn't stand up to my power. On, round number 2, I knew I wobbled him. I knew the third hit was going to get him. So I knew that was coming.
The elephant in the room. I don't know if you can see this comment from Brendan Bordeaux, but there's sort of 2 guys now that are runners up for an opportunity. Obviously, with John no longer being the champion, Isaih sort of can make sense, right? He has a good performance out there against Eddie. He hasn't lost to you, right? He lost to John twice, so there was that argument. I mean, as you sit here right now, unequivocally, based on everything that you know about both of these guys, who do you think makes the most sense to be the first person that you defend your belt against? I know you'll fight them both, but who do you believe makes the most sense if you were a matchmaker and could have your way?
To be honest, it's both. I can't choose. Me personally, I can't choose. At the end of the day, it is going to be up to Erica making that decision. But to be honest, both of them deserve it. Both of them, we got one who's, undefeated with a draw. We got Isaih, who just beat the guy that Brandon had a draw with. And then Isaih, still in spot number 1. I mean, yeah, he's had opportunities to go for the belt, but he hasn't gone against me, of course. But Brandon as well. Brandon hasn't had a shot at all yet, and he's at the top with us. And he's honestly, they're both number 1 contenders. To be honest, it's like, for me, I can't personally choose. I love both of them, and I'd love to go against both of them. I mean, I'm going to let you guys know now, I will be going against both of them because neither one of them are going to take it from me. But, I mean, we both know Brandon has a chin, but he doesn't have the power to put me out. So it's going to come down to technique. Hopefully they don't call me on flinches when I bite down. But same with Isaih. Isaih has a chin as well, but I don't think he has the power to put me out. So at the end of the day, it's going to be me against both of them, but it's who's going to be first.
Now this rhetoric hasn't really been, started or thought about at all. But generally, a champion who's defended a couple times and been around for a while, even if they get knocked out, right? Like I'll use Alexander Volkanovski as an example. He gets knocked out in round 2. I mean, very clearly loses to the guy, but now has a claim to a rematch. Do you feel like there's any world where John Davis gets a rematch before any of these other things happen?
No. I don't think that's going to happen, especially after, what just happened at our match. I think John Davis is going to have to go through a couple guys first before he eventually has a rematch. I know they want to push, Darren and those guys, try to push those guys up. But all the guys that, I've been up against already, I think those guys have more experience to keep those guys down at the bottom. I don't think those guys that are coming in new are going to climb up to the top. I think it's going to be all of us OGs that are going to be at the top. That's including Brandon and all them because they're OGs now, not these newer guys.
And then two quick last ones for me. What did you think of Darren versus the Chief?
That was definitely a sloppy match. Darren definitely flinched. So Chief should have got another shot. I don't think Chief would have knocked him out, though. Darren has a chin. But I called it. I knew Chief was going to get knocked out. He was talking all that mess. He was, what did I say? I said, usually the loudest person in the room is the weakest. And his chin definitely showed that. So we all called it. Everybody who interviewed about Chief, because everybody was hyping Chief up, said he hasn't even been hit yet. And we all knew this was coming. So Darren was the one to test that chin, and he got him.
Yeah, we saw an interesting clip, before the fights of you guys in the gym, right? You and John Davis obviously being very cordial and respectful. At one point, I think you guys were on the same treadmill, kind of being a little funny. The Chief comes in. I picked up on John's energy very quickly, right? John wasn't having it. He seemed like he actually was kind of getting annoyed. Your energy, it was tough for me to read. What were you feeling in that moment? Were you kind of annoyed? Were you just like, whatever, this is what this guy does? Like, what were you thinking when all of this is going on? Did you know he was recording?
Oh, I knew he was recording, and I knew he just wants the attention. But to me, it's like, I'm not going to give somebody the attention that doesn't deserve it. So why do you think he didn't come at me because he can't handle me? He went straight to John. He went for the weakest person in the room just because John's quieter and, just chilled and was running on the treadmill. He didn't say nothing to me. He just came in real quick, tried to say something slick. And I told him, I said, just wait. I was like, your turn will come. And as soon as I said that, he just stopped bugging with me and he went straight to John. So he tried to go for the weakest person in the room. So he's definitely not coming back after that one. He's got to work his way up for sure after getting put down like that. But I told him, I was like, you could talk all this mess all you want. I was like, but when it comes down to it, you'll see and you'll learn. And he learned. Darren was the one who taught him that lesson.
Awesome, my man, Core.
Yeah, Isaiah, got to say right off the top, you are 100% accurate. A year ago, you said that this was your destiny. Congratulations on making it happen. Obviously, caught up with you in Las Vegas as well. Remind me what it was we had it in and out, because wasn't it a double with cheese on raw onion? Was that what we had?
Yeah, we had onion wrapped burgers, onion wrapped Flying Dutchman. So
okay,
I
there
had
we
three
go.
of those bad boys.
Awesome, my man. COVID can't do nothing to you when you're eating those burgers.
No, not at all.
But let's talk about it. I mean, John Davis, I think from the moment that I seen him the first night in Abu Dhabi you could tell something was different. I'll say he was irritated almost from the moment that I seen him that night, feeling disrespected that, the super heavyweight match was getting its due. Paige Van Zandt was taking over the spotlight, and there was kind of shadows cast on your match. Did you kind of feel that same way?
To be honest, I mean, I felt like John knew his time was up, to be honest. I think he knew. He knew his time was up. I mean, especially after me coming back to back-to-back wins, and then the one against Wesley. When I put Wesley out, I think that's what got him.
Yeah.
But you could tell he was irritated, but you could tell he knew his time was coming. And I mean, he's confident in what he does. He's good at what he does. I mean, he's like I said, he's got a strong chin. John's a warrior. I mean, I love the guy to death. That's why, like, right after, you know, our match, I was like just making sure he was okay. But yeah, I mean, as soon as I found out I was the underdog again, that just fired me up even more. I'm like, bro, if people aren't gonna learn, I guess they just want to keep making money off of me. So that was irritating me at first, but I mean, that never matters because I know what I'm gonna go and do. But yeah, I could tell John was he knew his time was coming.
Yeah. I mean, talk to me through that first round. So you get called for flinching. John grabs his wrist. He's moving the elbow around. You know, was there any worry that the match wasn't going to continue? Because, I mean, he looked like he was in some discomfort, you know, and, you know, just everything that kind of transpired from it. One, did you think the match may not continue? And two, did you know at that point that he wasn't going to be able to put you away? Because, I mean, you didn't move. Like, there was no follow through with the way John was delivering his strikes.
I mean, you guys could go back and look at all my matches. You already know my head doesn't move. Even with Russell, when I was going against Russell, my head doesn't move. It's like I pride myself on the way I train, and I'm going to continue doing that. But I knew no matter what, John was going to go through with the match, whether it be his left hand, right hand. John, we already had that conversation before. He was like, "Hey," he's like, "my shoulder's good." He's like, "But just so you know, like, I'm not gonna quit if anything happens." He's like, "I'm just gonna go through with it." He's like, "I'll go with my left if I have to." I was like, "Of course, dog." I was like, "Because that's just what he does. He's not gonna give up. You know, he'll go with his left if he had to." But I mean, he still had power, man. You could tell his, like, it wasn't his shoulder. You could tell. I mean, he still was striking me pretty well. Of course, like I said, it's just my chin won't allow him to knock me out. But he definitely was putting some work on me.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what's John's power?
I can't put it on a scale. I mean, but I could say it goes Russell, John, then Wesley. I mean, Wesley and John were pretty right neck and neck, but I would say Russell, John, Wesley.
Gotcha. Makes sense. You know, as soon as you're victorious, you know, we really see Power Slap kind of rally behind you. I think one of the first posts, you know, that they really put up, and I don't know who it was. Was it CJ who did a post fight interview with you? You know, do you kind of feel, and I think I asked this in the post fight press conference, but do you feel kind of being that Puerto Rican pretty boy? Do you feel like you're primed to kind of be the face of Power Slap here going forward in this next phase or chapter as we kind of go?
100%. I mean, this last match yet again, I would say the last 3 Power Slaps, middleweight has been the limelight and the best matches across, you know, Power Slap 7, 8, and 9. I think middleweight has been the most hype. I mean, everybody who talks about it that leaves Power Slap, all they talk about is the knockouts, you know, the slaps, the bleeding, this and that. It's like, I mean, they already see, like, the super heavyweights, they're not putting out the same energy as we are. Like, yeah, it's hype because they're, you know, they've been in the game for a while, they're legends, you know, Crazy Hawaiian, you know, they have the look. But it's like, now it comes down to, do you guys want to start seeing the exciting matches? Because middleweight matches, even, you know, Chief and Darren, we got Azael and Eddie. Even though nobody got finished on that one, that was still wild because you're like, oh, dang, somebody almost got dropped. Like, you know, you see people wobbling around. But that's my biggest thing is, like, you see all these middleweight guys, we're putting on a bigger show, I think. And I think it's time to hype us up. And I see Power Slap starting to see where the action is. Yeah.
I mean, you know, 2 of the 3 knockouts come from your division. You know, the way that they create the card, you know, if there's multiple title matches, it's always, you know, the lighter weight class, you know, that is first, and the heavier weight classes, you know, to follow, just following the way that the UFC, you know, traditionally does it. I thought it was interesting because I was able to actually get one of the posters. And I'm not sure if you actually, I guess you'd be aware of it because you signed the poster. Were you mad that they took your face off the poster?
I mean,
when it was on the promo?
I was a little upset because I'm like, man, this is my, it's my first championship title shot. I mean, my face should have been on there. I would like a poster with my face on there, but I mean, I'm not worried about it now. Now that I have the belt, I know for sure I'm gonna be on there.
Yeah, your day is definitely to come. We seen you post fight, go on a little victory tour. You go up to Abu Dhabi, the Burj Khalifa. You got that belt in front of it. Talk to me about the reception from, people out in public, seeing you with the belt, and kind of what all that was like being in a foreign country.
To be honest, that was awesome. Like as soon as I had the belt, it's crazy because there's more people over there that know about Power Slap than out here. I feel like. I mean, when I was walking through the airport over here, people were like, "Oh, what's that?" And I had to explain a little bit. But I was walking through the airport over there, and they're like, "Oh, like I just saw you." Like they were so hyped. Like everybody was like, "Dang!" Like taking pictures. And then like I had a guide follow me all the way from security checkpoint all the way to my gate because he was like, "Oh, I want a picture." But out here in LA, they're just like everybody's like, "Oh, cool! Like you got a belt!" Like, and then you have to explain kind of what it is. Like for some reason, some people like just I guess a little behind.
Yeah. You gotta get. I don't know if you've ever seen it, and I'll be interested. And maybe I'm giving you a little hint here. But Israel Adesanya had an Apple. He had an Apple Watch, just the face on a chain, and it was just a replay loop of him knocking out. I forgot who it was. That's a good idea. That's an easy way to show people what you're wearing that belt for, man.
That's a good idea.
Awesome, my man. Talk to me about now being a true ambassador. I mean, you've got the belt. What does that mean to you? And I mean, are you planning to do anything different than some of the previous title holders to really help build this sport now that you got the accolade?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because Erica and AJ and all them know. I mean, I have tons of family members who are social media famous. I have tons of friends who are social media famous. Of course, I know a lot of actors and singers out here. Like, I've been blessed to, live out where I live and just know the people that I know. And it's a small world. You treat people with kindness, it gets you a lot further. So I've been blessed where I met a lot of people. And, I mean, they already have ideas of doing videos with me. I already told them because they would want to do videos in the past. But I'm like, listen, just wait till I get the belt. I was like, it'll be more popular. I was like, people will actually ask, hey, what's this for? What's that for? You could put it out a lot better there. I'm definitely going to promote it a lot more. I already have more podcasts lined up with a lot of famous influencers. I have a few trips lined up for some social media content. I mean, I'm definitely going to be the face of middleweight, and I'm not going to be, boring or quiet. And I mean, I definitely am going to put it out there and show what Power Slap is.
Awesome, my man. Going to ask you, how fast do you think we could see you again?
More than likely January.
January? Okay, in Saudi.
I'm down to defend this title, 3-4 times a year. However long they want to keep giving me matches. Nobody's taking this from me. I love how everybody's confident, but nobody's taking it from me. So
awesome, my man. Awesome. We appreciate you joining us, my man. Great catching up with you. One last one for me. Is that an electric helicopter behind you?
Oh, no, this one's not.
Okay, I was going to say, I'm like, a gas-powered one's kind of iffy as is. I don't know about an electric one.
Yeah, this one's not. This one's just one of our test vehicles. We're actually, I can't show you guys this one in front of me, but that one they're working on over here is pretty cool. It's one of our test vehicles, but
well, you don't have to show us. You can just kind of bump the phone over, maybe.
Right?
No.
Right. Nah, that's super cool though. But yeah, no, this one's not electric.
Awesome, my man.
I saw Chief in here commenting a little bit, but he's like talking about my energy was different in the gym. Yeah, it definitely was different. That's why he went and picked on John instead of me. So I told him, he was talking all that mess on Instagram, and I told him, I was like, all right, when you see me, don't try to act like my friend. What's the first thing he did when he goes in the gym? He daps me up. So come on, Chief. All talk, dog, no bark. Or all bark, no bite. Sorry. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Same. I'm not sure if you've seen it. Actually, it's not even released yet, but we'll see. Maybe we'll see you as a coach Potentially, because Dana actually dropped, there's an interview coming, Slap News. We're breaking it, but coming out this Friday, Dana White interview that we did in Abu Dhabi. And Dana White hinted potentially road to the title in Saudi Arabia. Maybe our boy will be there. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. We'll see.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I love Chief, bro. Simmer down, dog. Go recover. You got put down on your ass. Simmer down, buddy. But
awesome,
no, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome, dude. Take care, my man. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
All right, ding. There we go. Isaih Quinones, catching up with him. Fellow Puerto Rican of yourself and whatever you called your island.
Oh, you're not Puerto Rican?
I'm not Puerto Rican, dude.
You're an honorary Puerto Rican.
I don't think anyone's mistaken.
No, it's a floating pile of garbage. You wouldn't know this because you're from Canada, but Donald Trump had Tony Hinchcliffe, who's a roast comedian, at his rally on Sunday, and the first joke he made was that there's a floating pile of garbage somewhere in the middle of the ocean. I think it's called Puerto Rico in New York City, where it's all Puerto Rico. It was just hilarious. I'm not by any means, saying that that's Trump's purview or anything. I'm not making it political, but it was just very funny. And it's been going all over the internet. But again, I understand why you in Canada, where you guys duck and dodge wars like nobody's business, would not hear about it.
Absolutely, my man. You want to finish up the main card? A couple of things we haven't talked. We talked a little bit about James Seekman, Nate Bernard. Didn't get into great details, but obviously James Seekman taking care of business, setting himself up. Did he do enough to get a title shot? Did he not do enough? I mean, time will tell. Seemingly at this particular point, obviously Dorian Perez is next in line. It's not too far-fetched to see that, James Seekman might be that next one to follow immediately after. We know Damien DeBell has been out since April. We know he wants to be a lot more active. He wants to fight 3-4 times a year. Looking at that division, especially at the top, I think James definitely put himself in line for an opportunity to be able to be that next one. We may see one more match from now until then, potentially. There's a lot of guys at the top of that heavyweight ranking that would make some sense, for him to go up against. A guy like Ryan Phillips, obviously being right there, I think makes a ton of sense for a guy like James. And, with those two personalities, definitely could be something interesting. Do you have anything to add on that before we go on to Paige Van Zandt?
Just like his body language, man. James was sweating pretty profusely. I think he was psyching himself out more than anything.
Dude, that was because he was dancing, my man. You don't see the Shawn Michaels intro, dude?
Yeah, I bet. He was freaking out. You could tell he was just pouring sweat. And I think that's reminiscent of just kind of his nature. He kind of seems like he second guesses himself a little too much. But he went out there and got it done. And I think, to your point, right, Dorian gets the fight. Nothing has really happened. He just is kind of the next guy, it seems like. So he gets the fight against DeBell to get DeBell back up there. I do believe Dorian Perez is probably the rightful next person, given what's happened to the other people in front of him. But again, nothing really happened that prompted this match. Dorian didn't fight his way into it. We're just kind of moving down the ladder of the rankings here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely, definitely agree with you. Paige Van Zandt coming into this one, going up against Chelsea Dobson, who we haven't seen before. Not very often we see, an athlete making that main card with no experience. I mean, incredibly impressed with the toughness and the grit that Chelsea Dotson brought to this particular match. Coming into it, a little more shy in front of the camera. But
what?
She showed up and showed out.
You felt like she was shy? I thought the opposite. I thought Chelsea was incredibly comfortable in front of the camera.
Interesting. Yeah, no, not so much. I think, was definitely one of the more difficult interviews I think that I've done. She doesn't have a lot of media training. The first interview we did with her was her second interview ever. And obviously she did a couple leading into the match, but it was great to see, her first time up there, just seeing her, light up and the confidence that she had. against, an MMA fighter who's got a ton of combat experience. We were able to actually post-fight, sat down. We actually had some Pizza Hut pizza with her and her husband. Really late into the morning. She was flying out incredibly early. They had her being picked up at 4 a.m. the day after the event to fly out. So her shuttle was there. They didn't sleep, but seeing the confidence, seeing her excitement, her willingness and her want to be able to, come back and do power slap again. So it was definitely, a great performance for her. Where does this leave Paige Van Zandt? Pulling a draw out against a newcomer in the sport like this.
I don't think it changes a whole lot for her, man. I think she's probably right where she was before this match. There's not a ton of athletes in that division, and there's not a ton of female athletes in general. So, I mean, who knows? I think Chelsea definitely didn't waste the moment. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely made a lot of it. And yeah, I mean, we'll see where this goes. I'm interested to see what the fans want from Paige Van Zandt. If the fans want to see her back, and I'm not saying by anything a draw doesn't mean that your career is over, but I'm curious to see how that fanfare kind of goes and where it goes, and just kind of how she's seen by the purists and to see how she is by the fans of Paige Van Zandt, because I think we've seen two different types of people there. I see King DeFrank talking about Sheena and Paige. Unfortunately, two different weight classes. We know that Sheena probably wouldn't make that weight class. I mean, we've seen the cut that she did going up against Christine Wolmarans and how bad that was for her. I believe that was that 30? Or was that 45? Wasn't it? I think it was at 145.
Yeah. It was still bad.
So quite a big weight difference between them. But we actually seen Sheena there in Abu Dhabi. She was at the event. Great seeing her. She's actually planning to fight MMA in December. So interesting to see that. I know she's training incredibly hard. She talked about her training camp that she's doing right now, back in her home country, saying it's harder than anything that she's done in the United States. So she seems to be back in the saddle after, her medical scare that she had, and seems to be in good spirits about everything. So I'm sure we'll see her back relatively soon.
Look at the comment, man. These guys are just on point. Friday, Dana White interview drops, exclusive with Slap News. You will get an answer to this exact question.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see, my man. We're, I think overall just kind of teasing it. You guys stuck around for this long, kind of give you a bit more insight. But we were there right before the press conference for the UFC. We were able to sit down with Dana White. We had approximately a 17-minute sit-down interview with him exclusively on our YouTube channel that we're releasing on Friday. We dive into it, talking everything Power Slap, the state of Power Slap, where it's going, and what's to come. You'll get a ton of great information, questions that you may have about Power Slap for the boss himself. We dive into it in the deep details. We talk about, the Rumble deal being up. What does that mean? Does Dana think Power Slap should be a free model or a pay-per-view model going forward? Kind of talking about this next evolution of the sport, where they're going, other regions that are opening up. This particular event had, ministers of sports from South Africa, at it, as well as other delegates from other countries to potentially open up Power Slap. So to see how fast and the trajectory that this is going is absolutely phenomenal. And we're able to sit down with Dana and get some really great insights. So hopefully you guys can tune into that premiere, because we're incredibly excited for it. We'll let you guys know here in the coming days exactly the time that we'll release it. But I figured it'll be probably somewhere around 7 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern. What do you think?
Probably a little earlier than that. Give people some time before they wrap up for the night. But definitely Friday afternoon. But it's unequivocally the best Dana White interview I've ever heard. For a Power Slap perspective. Mm-hmm. I watched it and was like geeked out. I mean, incredible interview, and I'm part of the team, so it's crazy.
Awesome, man. Yeah, it was actually funny. So we go there, dude, crazy story. So I decide that I am going to wear a white dress shirt to go interview Dana White. And so just so you guys know, it's like 40 degrees. So we get told to go to gate number 5 at Ethos Arena. Get there. No, you can't get in gate 5. You have to go to gate 3. So we walk to gate 3. We get there. We're met by the PR representative for the UFC. They won't let us into the building. You have to go to gate 2. So we get escorted with security and the PR representative to gate 2. We get to gate 2. We're told, nope, you can't get in here. You have to go to gate 7. So Ethos Arena, 40 degrees, the middle of the day. I've got dress pants and a white shirt on. We go to gate 7. And apparently this is how it works in this country, where nobody wants to take accountability, responsibility for anything, and they just pass the buck to the next person. So we get over to gate 7. And apparently we're not on the list. So we have UFC representative, we've got media credentials, and we're there with TNT Sports out of Europe, and we're there with Fox Sports out of Australia. So at this point, I literally unbutton my dress shirt because I'm just drenching, literally sweating in 40-degree weather standing outside. And we were probably there for 20 plus minutes. We were supposed to be on with Dana at 2:30. We're still at this point, we arrived at 2:00, so we're 35 minutes in. And literally the head of security, I don't know the guy's name, but you know the bald guy that walks out with the fighters into the octagon, the head of UFC security?
Security guy, yeah, the old man.
So he comes out and has a conversation. Anyways, gets us in, go through the metal detectors, all that stuff. We get in, and we literally have to run to one of the locker rooms of the actual UFC event to literally set up. So I'm running with my shirt unbuttoned, going to this. I want my white shirt to be see-through by the point I'm going for this interview. And so we set up. We shared a locker room with Fox Sport Australia, which was super awesome. These guys let us use their lights. They went first, did their thing. Kind of super cool to see how they, how they ran the production. Like, they were a 3-man team. They had their on-air anchor. They had, they had their camera guy, and then they had their actual like producer with them as well. And I thought it was so funny, just kind of a bit of a tidbit on it. I know I'm getting long-winded, but their on-air guy is sitting there doing all these vocal warm-ups and doing all these things. He's got his clipboard with all of his questions for Dana. And, Jeeves looks over at me. He's like, hey, man, this guy's doing vocal warm-ups. I look at him, I'm like, yeah, so what, dude? I'm like, you're fucking doing Zin. So he just busts out, starts laughing. And, it's kind of a good way to start the conversation as he's shaking his head. Same, my man. And so, yeah.
You said 40 degrees. You're talking Celsius, I imagine.
Yeah, Celsius.
So
yeah.
It was like 70, 75.
No, dude, it was like 110, bro.
Celsius is not that far behind Fahrenheit. No way.
It's a ton.
Either way, it's very hot.
Put it into Google. Put it into Google, dude. It's closer to 110 than it is 70. I'll tell you that right now. But so we go. They go first. They do their interview. We're standing there. Cool. Dana's got this beer pong, power slap cup that he carries everywhere. Did his interview with the power slap cup, and then ends up doing our interview. And we sat down with them. Was great to see. Full 17 minutes, like we said. Great in depth detail. Dana's so passionate about power slap right now. Reminds him of the days of starting UFC. And you just see that he just incredibly loves to prove the naysayers wrong. And I think you'll see that within the interview itself. So
it's 104. Okay, I stand corrected.
Yeah.
One last thing before we go, man. Can you talk about? We saw a few previews of some Leaf cards getting signed, or some Leaf stickers.
Yeah, my man. Yeah. That? So let's talk about that. So we were there, obviously. The Chief. We've got Darren Godfrey, we've got James Seekman, Kelsey Dodson, as well as Robin Werchek. So we've got 5 more athletes that are going to have autos in a future Leaf product release. It's not going to be in this first one right now that's coming in December. It'll be in a future release that will come out, but we'll have these 5 athletes. We'll have their rookie cards, most likely in the second launch of Leaf, and we'll have those autographs to be able to chase it. So pretty exciting stuff, my man. It's great to see, dude. Like, actually, and sorry, dude, I forgot Wes Mena as well. So Wes Mena is another guy that will have auto cards in it, and great to see that these guys' dreams become realities. I know a guy like Wes Mena wasn't able to play pro ball. Seen a lot of his friends, get cards. Now he's gonna have his own. It'd be a real cool, surreal experience for him, with his buddies to be able to, like, hey, here's my card. Have his friends collect his card as well. We know that he was, and I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited for all these cats. Something that we obviously love. I got to shout out my man, though. I know I keep bringing it up, but I still have the 101, my man. I even get a card. So the dude's doing really good work. From Nebraska. Hit him up if you need custom stuff done, because he keeps working hard every day for you guys. Did you see that last Ron Beta one he did?
I can't say I have, no.
No? All right, buddy. You got it over on Facebook. I think Facebook's the only place that he hangs out. But anyways, my man, appreciate you. Anything else you want to know, Ding? Anything else you want to cover? Or are we good at this?
Don't we have something cool going on with a card that we can get into somebody's hands?
Hey, you know what, my man? I almost forgot, dude. I almost forgot, my man. My bad. But we kind of teased it last week, and we're going to get to it right now. All right. So we are going to be doing a giveaway. We got a Jason Herzog signed card that we're going to be giving away on our Instagram. It's going to go up right after this live is finished. All you have to do, follow us, Slap News on Instagram. You have to like the post, and you got to tag somebody else in it. We'll be giving this signed Jason Herzog card away. Whether you're a fan of his reffing and power slap or not, you can get your hands on one of these rare Jason Herzog autographed cards. We haven't seen the ref sign in a couple of years. Kind of, a unique piece, but wanted to put a little bit of a power slap, kind of twist on it as we're waiting on Leaf to finish up the first rendition of it. So head on over to Instagram. Once this post is up, then we'll get it up there. Just give it a follow, give it a like, and tag somebody else, and we'll be giving away this Jason Herzog autograph. Ding. Are you going to win that giveaway, Ding?
No. I have a Herb Dean auto. I'm good on that.
You're good with the Herb Dean?
Ref in the business.
Yeah.
I wish Herb Dean would ref power slap. Or Mike Beltran. I'll take Mike Beltran any day. He's so mean, dude. It's amazing.
I can see you have your Herb Dean on your nightstand. He's probably the last thing you see before you go to sleep.
I got some nicer cards than Herb Dean, but yeah, he's up there.
I don't know, dude. Herb Dean's had some brain farts over the years. I'm not sure him in power slap would be so great, but I don't know. I don't know, my man.
The Chief likes Herb.
Yeah, does he?
I don't know if he's talking about Herb Dean or Herb something else, but
I was gonna say which Herb's he talking about, my man.
You never know with Vegas.
You never know, my man. You never know. But you know what? Let's talk about it. We're coming up. Obviously, Damien DeBell pre-fight interview is going to be coming out as well this Friday. We're going to be putting together a whole schedule of content so you guys know, because we're less than 5 weeks away coming into Power Slap number 10. 3 title matches lined up. Vegas is going to be lit that particular weekend. And we're going to keep on rolling, man. This content doesn't stop. We keep putting out a ton. I think over 800 videos of original content uploaded to YouTube now. Over 1,400 posts, I think, on
that's correct,
on Instagram. And we keep on rolling, my man. Until next time, stay good, my dude. And let's keep fighting the good fight and spreading the love of Power Slap.